much indeed. We'll go over now to agenda item 5. Stephanie.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, members. This is a new application for a temporary street trading licence for a new fruit and veg stall to be located at Uxbridge High Street. You've been provided with location plans and maps to see the locations. Some of these have been provided to you in the addendum pack, which was sent out yesterday. The applicant has complied with all requirements of the application process and has provided all the necessary documentation. A copy of the application can be found at Appendix 1, page 39. As per our standard procedures, the application was subject to a consultation which ended on the 30th of June 2016. The Highways team, Antisocial Behaviour team, Uxbridge Town Centre Management and all the ward councillors for both wards were all notified of the application. A total of 2 letters of representation were received, one being from Mr Michael Facey, the manager of the Pavilions Market in the town centre. This can be found at Appendix 3, page 45 of your packs. And the second representation from Mr Aaron Bayliss, the centre manager for the Pavilions Shopping Centre. This can be found at Appendix 4 on page 47. The officer recommendation in this case is to grant the licence as applied for. However, the committee are invited to consider the 2 representations and make their own determination. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. At this point, I would ask members if there's any points of clarification. Members, can you confirm you all received the addendums, first of all?
Yes.
So you all have copies of the street trading policy that the council currently operates under, and you all have maps of the area. Is there any points of clarification you have regarding either the policy or the application at this point? Councillor Jackson? No points of clarification at this point. Okay. Can I just ask Stephanie, on page 5 of the street trading policy, it states 6.5, the council will require details of the vehicle or stall setup being proposed. There will be an opportunity to give the opportunity information within the application form. Can you tell me, do we have details of the actual display, what side it will be? Because I'm not sure from the pack, I can't see where they'll be selling the fruit and veg from.
From conversations with the applicant,
is it on the application form?
It's not on the application form. There's brief details that it will be a gazebo type structure and the sizing of that gazebo, but I've sought further clarification from the applicant this morning, and it won't be enclosed, but they may put sides up. I'm sure you can further clarification.
I noted that because you've given me the policy, I've taken the time to read it, and it says that we need to have that on the application form. So how would that be? Would that affect the application at all? It's not on the form.
It's fine, Chairman.
It's fine. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead with that. Just a point of clarification. We will have our subcommittee discussion. Yeah, Councillor Ann.
I'd invite the applicant to clarify that for you during questions, Councillor.
Are you happy with that at the moment, Councillor Allen? We'll move on and ask the applicant later on. Is that okay? The only other
for now.
Thank you. The only other point I was going to make, I mean, this is not about this application, this is about applications in general, but on page 17 and 18 of the actual street trading licence, street trading licence policy, it clearly states the list of designated licensed streets, shop front displays and tables and chairs only, and then it says Uxbridge High Street, pedestrianised area between Vine Street and Belmont Road, only. It also then says it under pitch traders only. It's quite discerning. Can we have it removed from the shop front displays and tables, chairs only, because on Uxbridge High Street, as we know, because this is an application we're hearing, you are allowed to pitch trade as well. You may need to have another area where it says both.
Yes, Chairman. Just to clarify, this is a temporary street trading licence which doesn't need to be on a designated licence street. The temporary street trading licence can be granted anyway.
I think I said I'm not discussing this policy, this actual application.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the actual going forward.
Okay.
Because otherwise, I don't understand how we can have just tables and chairs there, as it says on page 17. Glenn, do you see what I'm talking about here?
I do, Chairman. I think it's something to go forward for.
That's why I've asked them to note.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll know that as well, Chairman.
Thank you. If you look on page 17, it clearly says Uxbridge High Street only for tables and chairs, and it says pitch trailers only. Well, surely you can do both there, so it needs to have a new heading.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. It wasn't, again, nothing to do with your application, sir. It's just that when I got this pack, I could note it, and I thought it was relevant to raise it now because others would have seen it. So just to say that officers got members have no other questions for points of clarification. So we now would like to hear from order the applicant, which is you, Mr. Craddock.
Okay, so yeah, I'm here to apply for fruit trading licence, fruit and veg stall. The stall we're asking for is obviously, as you've seen on the pack, outside between Marks and Spencer's and W.H. Smith's. Yeah, as we've said, I'll clear up your question straight away, Ms. Allen. The stall we're going for is a gazebo. It's an easy pop-up tent. It doesn't take up any space outside of that area to erect it. It's not going to be cause of obstruction while being erected or while it is erect. What we were hoping for was to have side panels on either side of the gazebo itself, because there's a lot of, as you know, with that high street, there's quite a wind that comes through that particular part, that particular stretch of the high street. So as far as for our own comfort and safety is concerned, to have side panels on this gazebo would be most beneficial for us and for anybody else. As far as the display is concerned, we're actually quite open in a way that my initial idea was to go from one side to the public, to serve from one side. Otherwise, we'd be equally as happy to have it so we can have it open either side. So we can, if it's easier, if it's better, more beneficial for yourselves to have it open on either side of the gazebo to serve from two sides. So we're serving one side of the high street, which would be W.H. Smith's side, and the other side of the high street, which would be Marks and Spencer's side. Should that be a problem, then we're more than happy just to serve from one side facing towards W.H. Smith. The lines that we're hoping to sort of sell is obviously, as we said, fruit and veg. We're not going to be selling anything that will cause any sort of mess along the high street. A lot of it's going to be sealed containers, strawberry punnets, cherry punnets, most things packaged. So we won't be boiling any vegetables while we're there, or stripping anything off, or taking any leaves off and causing any sort of undue obstructions or nuisances. So that's as far as the product's concerned. So is there anything else that you need to know from me, or?
I'm sure there will be, but we'll wait for you to finish.
Okay, no problem at all. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
the actual the trellis tables inside that we use are from a reputable company that basically all of the show will be displayed out on display, and any stock that we need, instead of transporting it from one place to another, it will already be within the unit. So, but underneath these trellis tables. So any restocking that's done can be taken out from underneath and placed on display. Now, I know that was a bit of an issue that was raised before, because obviously to bring a van across a high street or a trolleys across a high street during the day when there's pedestrians there would not deem safe at all. So obviously all of the stock is going to be kept within the unit throughout the day, and any top-up stock will be there as well. This includes the rubbish, which will also be away from the front and tucked away into the unit itself. There won't be any rubbish stored outside of the gazebo. There'll be no unsightly boxes or unsightly waste left anywhere on the high street at all. As anything is dropped, it's going to be swept. You know, we are already traders, and we have traded in this industry before. We've got a flower stall, as I'm not sure all of you are aware, but we've got the flower stall outside Oxford train station. So we are well versed with the rules and legislations of the street trading licences, and it's nothing uncommon or different to what we do now as far as waste is concerned. The actual waste itself at the end of the day will be taken away from the site. We're not using any amenities from the town. We're taking the waste away with us, and that'll be at the end of the day. The access to this point, to this pitch, we are hoping to, with your permission, use the same facility that Frank from the roundabout uses. They currently take a bollard out from Windsor Street and drive the van on. They drop their roundabout and then they leave, and we're aiming for the same thing. So to drive a van onto where our pitch is, unload everything straight away, take away anything else that needs to go, any rubbish that's there, drive the van away, and obviously park it away from the pitch. So we won't have any vehicles on there throughout the day, obviously, and it will only be first thing when we're setting up the stall. and then last thing when we're packing the stall away. So at no point will a vehicle be coming onto that high street in any busy hours for the public. So that's obviously, I know that was another major concern. Yeah, that's pretty much it really, to be fair. Yeah.
Okay. Just it's points of clarification. I'm sure there'll be some questions here at this time as well. But if we can just keep the points of clarification, we will have a discussion. Is there any members who want to have just clarify what you've heard already from the applicant, or what he has submitted? You've all seen the letter as well that he submitted about the application. Councillors, anything you'd like to clarify?
There was just one piece.
Councillor Allen, you've indicated you wish to speak.
It was just the one piece in the letter that I think we should disregard, where it makes a point of nobody approaching you with their concerns. I don't think that is relevant because, A, nobody should be approaching you because you could class that as bullying. So that shouldn't be there.
You're referring to contact
on page, yes. On
contact during the consultation
yes.
process. It would be with the council rather than
yes.
yourselves. Yes.
So that should be deleted.
Okay.
I'm well aware of how boys operate.
No,
so
of course.
You don't go down that.
It was more of because I have a. Oh, sorry. Because I know both of the people who provided the objection letters. It was more of a we can talk about this rather than a you haven't come and spoken to me about this. There was never meant any malice behind it or anything like that. But I totally understand what you mean, and I agree. Yeah, obviously, I know. I totally understand. I agree.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Craddock. The operating time seems a little bit excessive. Is 6 a.m. in the morning the time the pitch will be raised, or is it the time the goods are being sold? And also, how long does it take to close down and dismantle the pitch? You've more or less said it's a very quick operation.
Councillor Jackson, just to clarify, is that because you feel that he would have to set up pre-6 o'clock?
Well, I just want
to know... And then start selling from 6 and then break down after 7?
If you start selling at 6 o'clock, would you have to be there before 6 to erect your pitch?
Yeah, the reason, they do seem like excessive hours, obviously, but that's not trading hours. That is more of as you say, we won't be turning up any time before 6 o'clock. This is more so we can bring the vehicle onto the premises and unload. It's just to give us enough time that we make sure that we're up and running and there's nothing that could be anybody's way. Or obviously, I know Uxbridge is a busy town and it is getting busier, and it's quite a big footfall there. And a large percentage of that footfall is office workers, which are obviously quite early, and obviously people that work in shops, not just the public. We don't want to present any obstruction or any possible issues with those early risers as well as anybody else during the day, as well as the consumers. So we're aiming to get there at 6 o'clock to open up the stall and have as quick as we possibly can, however long that might take us, and it's not a very long process. Take everything away and we're up and running and ready to go before causing any issue on the high street. And the same would be packing away. We wouldn't be there any time at all past 7 o'clock. We wouldn't be packing up at 7 o'clock to then take everything away and leave after that. We're looking to be packed up before 7 o'clock and off of the site. So.
The reason, Mr. Craddock, the reason we were asking for this, because obviously, so what sort of time would you be selling fruit and veg? Give me a time, because obviously you've applied for 7 o'clock, 6 a.m. till 7. We've got a copy of the street trading licence, which number 5 says you can only trade alongside the times that the shops are open. So what time are you going to be selling? Because currently your application says 6 a.m. and that doesn't tie in with our policy. Okay,
I hear what you say there. Yeah, it was. I put into those times in as kind of a. I don't want to tread on anyone's toes with being there, while there are public there. So I feel that it would be unsafe to be if we were to set up at, say, for example, the shops are open at 9 o'clock. If we were to set up at 8 o'clock, there's a lot of people in the town.
Set up is different to trading.
Sorry. If you're
going to set up at 6, but you don't trade till the shop's open, then it's fine.
Yeah.
Because Stephanie, can you confirm that the applicant has got a copy of the street trading policy? Because page 22, appendix 3, number 5 says, licensed times shall be the same as trading times applicable to shops in the vicinity of the licensed street trading pitch. However, traders may only trade during time stated on the licence. So, for example, so that you can't trade at 6 a.m. because you can't be open until the retail outlets around you are open.
Of course, yes. Yes, that's fine. Yeah, it's more of a, because it's we do know roughly how long it's going to take to set up a stall. If it should take a bit longer than we assumed, you know, that we're giving ourselves a bit of time, and really I'm basing it on the current business we have. And we've got the flower stall outside the front there, and that does take us a bit of time to set out a full show, but it's a substantial size pitch. So maybe I was a bit zealous with going so early with the set-up time, but
the application form doesn't ask you for a set-up time. It asks you for a selling time.
Oh, that's fine. That's
So
I see. Yeah, I mean the selling time
to reflect.
As it's in there, will have to be 9 o'clock. The selling time will have to be 9 o'clock.
Okay,
of course.
so you're actually asking to change your application form to 9 to 7, which will tie in with the shops around you.
For trading times,
For
that's
trading.
correct. For trading times, definitely, yeah.
Members, you get that? Yeah. Because obviously the policy's there, and that'll tie that. Councillor Allen?
I'm glad you said that, because I wouldn't want you to fall before you even started.
Of course, yeah.
And also, whatever marker you set down, other stalls are going to come at some point, because once you're there and people see how viable your trade is, they're going to be asking for stalls there. So I'd like to make sure there's some conformity along there. So
The only other point, Mr. Craddock, you mentioned a gazebo, two blanks. I presume the two sides, one would be facing the benches and one would be facing the tree that's pictured. That's right, yeah. And you talked about the display. I mean, usually these displays, declaring interest, used to run a green crisis. They're levelled up on one side, so I don't know how you'd be able to do two sides.
This is an area. My business partner can't be here today. He's unfortunately not been able to make it. That was more of his sort of area, which I'm happy to answer for. There are stands available that you can work from both sides if you necessarily be there, but it doesn't. To be honest, we've got leeway on that. We really are happy to work from one side. Honestly, it's to have it all stacked up at one side with the display all at one side of the entrance and out to one side of the high street is absolutely fine.
Thank you, Chair. How would your pitch affect the special events like the French market, food market, and army marches past, and the big fest, etc.? How would you be off that day, not working?
Well, yeah, we're more than happy to work with the town as we are in our current business. Yes, it'll be exactly the same principle. We actually shut for Big Fest and we empty our stall out and our semi-permanent unit, and we give it to the council for the day. We lose a day's trade and give it to the council to use for the Big Fest because we know how important these events are. So we're happy to work around. If it's an army march, we'll shut. That's perfectly acceptable. We're happy to do that. I mean, when the French market comes, as I've explained to Stephanie recently, we're happy to move with them, and we'd like to be honest, we'd like to sit amongst them if that's possible. If it would be not an option, then we can shut. That's really not a problem. So we're happy either way. Definitely, yeah. I know how important they are to the council, and how important it can be to the town. So we're more than happy to work with you on that. Yeah.
You mentioned yourself that you currently have a stall in the local vicinity. Can you confirm that this stall is only going to be fruit and vegetables, and you won't be moving fruit and veg, say on Mother's Day, down there to do fruit baskets on your flower stall, and conversely you won't be putting flowers down at the fruit and veg stall? So what I want to hear is that you have two separate stalls with separate commodities, because obviously your application is just fruit and veg. It's only going to be fruit and veg. You're aware of that, and if you wanted to put flowers on it, you'd have to reapply. And conversely, with the stall you currently have, you would have, sorry, I'm looking over at some retired young gentleman in the corner there. Yeah, but conversely, if you wanted to sell fruit and veg at that stall, you'd have to then put an application in again.
We do actually have, at the moment, we're in place soft fruits licence on the flower stall, which is only for certain times of the year. We haven't really sort of gone to the full extent with that, although we have sold cherries and strawberries at times. We've had a little bit, to be fair, for that stall, we are obviously always flowers and plants all the way through the year. But with the fruit stall, it would just be fruit and veg. There'd be nothing else there. There'd be no flowers or anything else at all.
Can I ask if that follows through with the Christmas trees as well?
Yeah.
That would, every year you ask for the licence on that. You won't be asking for a licence on the fruit stall, Christmas trees wrapped round it?
Well, no, I mean, there won't really need to be, because we, obviously, the flower store we have currently, we have Christmas trees on the side, and we do, and for the last 2 years, which was the last meeting we came for, was the extension on the Christmas tree, to sell Christmas trees with the extended stall, in between where the town's Christmas tree goes and our pitch, which worked really well last year and worked well the year before, which we've obviously already had a meeting about. I don't really feel any need to go any further with the trees. I think we've got a big enough area. We're really pleased that we've been given that option to have the Christmas trees in that area, so we wouldn't try and bring it any further, to be honest.
Just last one. Talk to me about the actual maintenance of your waste management during the day. Conscious that fruit and veg does actually get very mushy. The area may need washing down at points. How are you going to cope with that?
Well, obviously we currently have use of running water from our other lockups. We've got lockups all around London underground properties where we get all our water from. So it's easy, quite accessible to get a keg of water from there to the stall before it even opens, or even from the back of the van there, so we can make sure everything's swept and clean, and at the end of the day will be swept and kept clean, as we already do currently at the moment. Obviously every evening we sweep up now. We don't leave any debris, because we know how that's quite a major factor in once you've left your premises, is obviously keeping it clean. It doesn't look aesthetically pleasing, and it's obviously dangerous, so we're more than capable of keeping on top of the waste throughout the day. We're sweeping the waste into bins, our own bins within the unit, and then at the end of the day, any waste that may have been created, which I believe will be minimal by the product that we're selling, will be taken away in the van, and we've got a deal with our market that we can take the waste back to there. So we're taking completely away from the site. It won't be used within the town at all. There'll be no waste within the town at all.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Jackson?
Yeah, you say you've got all these means of clearing up after you. Have you got a pressure washer, high pressure washer? Should the pavings be stained with any kind of vegetables?
Yeah, I own a pressure washer, which I have. I don't know whether it's not something I've looked too much into yet, because obviously the waste that we make currently doesn't really leave any stain on the high street. I mean, we'd have to probably ask permission from the waste team of the borough whether we can use that or not.
Sorry, this is Uxbridge High Street, the pedestrian zone, which is actually done by the council on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So if you come out, because you've already said you're going to remove your structure, the waste and recycling vehicle that goes sprays down every morning. If you're up very early, you will see it.
There won't be any staining marks then.
Can I say, you say they do it already, and I accept that, but if there's going to be more staining, then more extra resources are going to be used. Has that been built? Has that been factored in?
Well, we've already heard from the applicant that they're going to clean on an ongoing basis at the end of the day. We can deliberate that when we get to our deliberations, but it's not a question for him to ask if the council will approach more resources. Thank you. Well, we will do that. I'm sure we will do that, and always smile at the camera. Okay. Mr. Craddock.
I'm sure there's something already in place with the waste at the end of the day, because obviously with the French market going in, I'm sure there's something that's already been put in place for such things. But that helps. Yeah, of course.
Okay, I think currently that's it for you at the moment. So if you just want to stay where you are, because I'm sure you get on with the people we're going to call up now. But if I can just ask the objectors here to step forward, please. If you just come forward. Over on that side. Oh, it's nice and gladiatorial, separating these people. Take a seat, sir. If you just want to, when you're comfy, press the red button, state your name, and go ahead.
My name is Michael Facey. I'm currently Director of Uxbridge Market Traders, which run the Pavilions Market on behalf of the Council. I can claim to have some experience of markets. In fact, I built the temporary market in Vine Street some 50 years ago, when the council gave us some grounds. If those of you who know the history of Uxbridge, there was a market in the Chequers Yard, which was privately owned. That land was then required for the town centre, and the private developer who was running the market at the time ran away at the cost of doing any future development. But market traders at that time banded together, and I was very pleased to lead them, and we've built a market in Vine Street, and then later when the town centre was, which is now the Pavilions, was built, we came back and were asked by the council to run that because we'd done such a job of it. This means that I've been running a market for the best part of 50 years, and I can claim a very considerable experience of running greengrocers, and I hear today that everything will be on the stall that they're going to sell, contained within the stall. I've never seen such a situation in my life. By the nature of things, the business would be pretty useless if they could only actually sell what they've got on there. They will have to be reloading that on a regular basis. The stalls in the Pavilions, the stalls I had in the old Vine Street market, and indeed when we were temporarily on the High Street during the time of the refurbishment of the Pavilions, we had to make provision for stuff being continually loaded onto those stalls. The idea that it could be contained, I just think is pie in the sky. I think that the whole business, I put in my letter of greengrocery, is a hurry-up business. Everything is in a hurry-up. Cleaning goes by the board. When we've got time, serving customers is the first importance. And this is what will happen here. No doubt about it at all. Their storage is some considerable distance away, and it will be brought. The idea that it's on the van and all of it in the morning, I'm afraid is pie in the sky. I mean, you've already drawn attention to that. I think, how would it be loaded up in the day? And I think that will happen. It must happen. I think that the site is unsuitable in many, many ways on a regular basis. The cleaning has come up. If I was supervising that, I would certainly be thinking of pressure washing all the time, because that type of work is dropped on the floor and it stains. It's a constant problem now in the Pavilions. We have a representative of the Pavilions here who's on to me quite a lot about stains that greengrocers make, and we've had to go to severe cleaning over the whole business, and the council will be in exactly the same position here. I think spillage around there is quite dangerous, a public spill. We've had that even in the market in the Pavilions. Fruit and veg is dropped around it, and people fall and slip, and there's been more than one claim involved with quite considerable money because of that type of action. I don't think this will actually add to Uxbridge. There is plenty of representation of this type of thing. I know that competition is not an issue, but competition here at very modest cost, I noticed. In fact, unbelievably modest cost, I might say, when I look at the cost of these stalls. We're looking at stalls that really should be 10 times the kind of rent that the council are quoting under normal circumstances and in any commercial market. But nevertheless, we don't think it will add to the town, and we can't see a great improvement by allowing it.
Okay, thank you very much for your opinion. Thank you. Any members, any questions or points of clarification? Just to state, in your letter you say you've managed markets for about 50 years, including fruit and veg. Currently, you are the manager of the...
Indeed.
And you have 2 fruit and veg stalls in there?
We have, yes.
What size would you say the pitches are of the ones in front?
They are about much the same size as these here. Yeah. The temporary stall is probably smaller, not quite so deep, probably about 3 metres deep, and about the same width, if not a fraction bigger. But the temporary stall I've had to place immediately adjacent the rubbish area.
Read that by the lifts and the stairs.
Yes, right by the stairs where he's right, but where he can dispose of rubbish, and he's got water and everything there in order for washing down. But I had originally a greengrocer elsewhere in the market, but it caused constant problems.
Okay. And one other question I've got is, you mentioned slip strips and falls, which is always a big concern for us. The flooring you have inside the centre is obviously a different style to what we have in the street. What type of flooring do you have in the centre?
Well, it is a terrazzo flooring, but that's not always been the case. It was only the case after the Pavilions was actually roofed. Before that, the flooring was exactly the same as you've got in the High Street. And indeed, my Vine Street market was...
Obviously now the flooring is much more dangerous, the floor you currently have with grates.
Well, it is
Grates and soft fruit.
It is when wet, yes.
Yes.
Yes, when wet.
Yeah.
But it was nevertheless equally dangerous. A lot of the problems was in earlier days when it was actually the type of flooring you have outside. That was really, in a sense, much more difficult to clean.
Councillor Allen, you've indicated you wish to speak.
Yes, I've got a question, but I'm not sure where...
If you hold on 1 second, just hold on 1 second, take your light off, that would be great, because I was just about to say, if there's no more points from the councillors, we will move, as per agenda, to the discussion, and I feel that we're going to have a discussion now. I would ask you, please, to be as civil as possible, especially my councillor colleagues. We're just going to the points of clarifications that you've already raised. We just have some questioning, just to clarify exactly. We've heard from Mr. Craddock, we've heard from you good self about the concerns you have over the cleaning, the concerns about the sales, and I have a couple of questions to my officers as well, because there was an issue you raised about how much we charge. And I don't like the idea that we're actually not charging enough for these street trading licences. But we'll go with Councillor Allen first. Who would you like to ask a question to? Or if it's for both men, it's fine.
I know the difference between a barrow boy who loads his ware up, sells it, and then shuts down. You know, he's sold everything he's got, gone. And then you've got a pop-up shop that constantly replenishes. Which are you? Because that's where I want to get to.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I think that sort of really falls to, well, obviously we're setting up a gazebo every day and then we're shutting down every night, but we are running a different line of fruit and veg than what would be from a normal fruit and veg stand. We won't be having a massively extensive range of fruit and veg on that particular pitch. We're aiming for a different, possibly slightly different demographic in that, because of that footfall where we're proposing to put the pitch, there's a lot of offices in Uxbridge, there's a lot more offices coming up into Uxbridge. So one of the demographic we're aiming for is people that work in offices that may want to grab something on their lunch breaks. You know, we may possibly do plastic packs with banana, grapes, strawberries, those sorts of things, seeds and the like, which obviously won't create a big mess. We're also going to be aiming for shoppers who maybe just want to grab a little something while they're on their way. And then there's also going to be a certain amount of, bunches of grapes and some apples and different lines of fruit and veg. We're not going to run a full extensive show of fruit and veg. My partner who's coming in with this with me, he currently has a premises inside the shopping centre, which he doesn't plan on closing, which sells all of the fruits and veggies that are available. So in a kind of roundabout way, if anything, it will do the shopping centre some good, because when they... Can you answer my question, whether we're a pop-up shop or not? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we are going to set up the stall, all the stock will be inside the unit, we'll sell as much as we can and restock as much as we can, and we pack away at the end of the day and leave.
No, that is the question I'm asking you.
Yeah.
You were saying everything you're going to sell is going to be there.
Yeah.
You're not going to go
No,
away.
No, like I clarified when I said at the beginning, everything will be...
So you won't be popping into your pavilion
No,
anywhere else?
No, that would be a big issue, I'm sure, for the shopping centre.
So what you're saying is everything you've got there on the day, once you've sold it, the pop-up goes?
We wouldn't take it down during the day, because obviously that would make it an issue to pack away a stall in the middle of the day when there are people walking around. But we aim, with our knowledge to...
But if you've nothing to sell...
Yeah, no, I understand, yeah.
What are you going to be saying? Sorry, closed?
I'm hoping it's never going to be the issue, because we can carry an extensive amount of stock. With the shelving units that we're looking at using, you can carry an excessive amount of stock, more than you would sell in a day. I mean, obviously, where we've got our current business, you wouldn't necessarily have to have every... we can store enough flowers within our unit to sell it during the day without having to top up too much from our yards, because we know roughly what we're going to sell each day. Maybe a different thing. Yeah, no, I understand.
I would like to explore this a bit, because I know that from what I'm hearing from members, there is a concern about the replenishment of this stall during the day. And you're confident that you can actually have a day's items on the actual stall and no one else. I mean, if, for example, you don't know at 9 AM if 1 o'clock it's going to be baking hot and sunny and everyone's going to buy soft fruit. You may well then run out of strawberries, your best ticket item, which you've got 10 cases around the corner, and you can't replenish because you said today you're happy for us to condition that you don't replenish. So I'll be very careful to say that you won't replenish. I think we should still explore how you would replenish if need be. Because if we were to say to you today, are you happy to say that only the items that are on there before you start trading are the only items you can sell all day? And I've been told by my legal team we can condition that. We may be minded to do that, and it may then force you at 2 o'clock of an afternoon, because you don't know what your sales are going to be like. And you could lose 4 or 5 hours of trading because you've conditioned yourself out of the market. I wouldn't want you to do that as a commercial business, to be conscious of that. And so we need to find out how. I mean, you talked about a van getting onto the site. We've all got pictures in front of us. I think the best one would be the one with the almost vertical red arrow, which shows a tree at the very front of it. Have you got this picture in front of you, Mr. Craddock, or can he get that picture? That one there, not the... I really want to understand this actual loady, offloady scenario we talked about with the bollard. Now, I know the roundabout stops a lot further before that tree. The roundabout is that right, Stephanie? The roundabout is the other side of the tree. So you're not coming from, say, Barclays Bank area. You're talking from, where will you be coming from when you deliver in the morning?
No, obviously not from Barclays Bank there, because I know there's no actual entrance from that way. Should the camera be facing the other way from this photograph, it will be the opposite way. So outside of Builder-Bakers, if that's the easiest explanation, if everyone knows it down well enough. Windsor Street. Yeah, up Windsor Street. Yeah, along the High Street, as is currently done by Frank himself, to unload, as we did at Christmas when we've done it with the Christmas trees, and when we had the flower stall some years ago. Exactly the same principle as that. Same place where we had the flower stall before, with the same sort of idea. Empty everything off of the van.
What size vehicle is it?
A transit.
Transit.
At the moment, we have a transit available, but this would depend on what we would be allowed, because obviously we haven't gone out and bought another vehicle yet, because we haven't been granted the licence. So should we be granted a licence, a possibility of, I don't know how big a vehicle we're allowed to go onto that high street. I know I've seen vehicles as big as Luton vans, for example, have been on the high street. Whether that would be something that we'd be allowed or not, that's something that you might be able to tell me.
Looking at that part, it's block paving rather than slabs. So you could go up to HGV2, but I'm just going to get clarification from Stephanie.
Yes, that's correct. We've had double-decker buses go through there before. So
you wouldn't really want to see great big substantial vehicles going up and down there every morning. This is why we're trying to find out the times you're going to gain access. Because I know we refer to Frank, but we mean the roundabout people. What time do they go there? They use a 4x4, don't they? Just pull it.
They use a long wheelbase transit at the moment.
And transit
yeah, they use a transit at the moment. So, and obviously they've got the fairground ride attached to the back of that.
Okay.
I mean, I have seen larger vehicles on there before, but obviously that's something that you need to clarify, that you can bring larger vehicles on. I mean, our aim, what we were hoping for, was to be like a Luton-style van.
You've heard concerns today, you've seen them in letters and also today, about this washing down, constantly washing down.
Yeah.
You talked about you've got water supply and you've got a water butt, is it
Yeah.
a butt you've got?
Yeah.
Now that's obviously not of any pressure.
No, of course
So
not.
where would that be? On the stall?
Yeah, it can be kept on the stall. I mean, it can be left on the van of a night time, and topped up with water from anywhere. That can stay on the van. It can be taken off each day and dropped onto the pavement. It's not a heavy thing. It's just a big plastic water butt basically, and can be kept inside the stall itself. So we'll have water there should we need it. Of course, yeah. Hence the size of the stall really. I mean, it's not the smallest of stalls. I've seen smaller, but one of the reasons for that is so we can contain everything. We can contain the rubbish. We can contain any extra stock we've got, and we can contain water. Otherwise, we'd be asking for a smaller.
Well, yeah, just to clarify, I know as a ward council, myself and others, we constantly look at all street trading applications in our own wards, and we're very conscious of what areas we approve. Yeah. And there's nothing worse than giving approval and then seeing someone encroach. That's why I wanted to hear that everything will be maintained within the confines of the gazebo.
Yes, that is, yeah.
And will there be a canopy to this gazebo?
Well, the actual.
We haven't seen it.
Well, see what it is, the style of, again, as we haven't been granted the application yet, we know what we were going to go for. Obviously, I don't want to spend £1,000 on a tent that I'm going to put in my back garden, so we have to have the application passed. But I do know what we're aiming for. It's a pop-up gazebo, it's a heavy-duty storm gazebo. So it's not the sort of thing that a gust of wind would blow it down the road and there'd be any issues with that. It's all weighted down. It's used for events. It's used in the middle of fields. So it's a strong structure.
The council has some very similar ones that we use in our events as well.
Yeah.
The temporary structures that the events team have. and they're of a similar size. But what I want to, is there a canopy beyond that?
That we wouldn't exceed the size of the stall that we're asking for. So one of the ways we could do it would be to have the stock so it would be slightly further into the stall, possibly, only by marginal amounts. So there would be, the stall itself would offer some sort of shelter should it be raining or anything like that. But again, we wouldn't exceed that area. So we're not asking for the size of the stall that we want, or the size of the pitch that we want, I should say, and then exceed that area.
Councillor Allen?
I know the gazebos the council use, they usually use them on,
Sorry, yeah.
God, I start feeling like I've got an echo behind me. I know the council ones, they usually use on soft ground, and so they're pinioned down. How are you going to make sure these are weighted down? Because I've got a very large gazebo, which occasionally put in my garden. And unless I really put it down, and bearing in mind I'm butted it in all the way round, the wind lifts it. So can you...
Yeah, there are... well, no, they're actually quite handy. These are they're impressive new tents, to be fair. The ones that we look at, they have weights which fit around the posts of the weights. Yeah, it's all contained. It's where the 4 posts are. It's all, the weight is on those 4 posts, and it can be the actual tarpaulin itself. It's got double straps all the way around it. They're really quite solid. I mean the firm that we bought. Oh yeah, no, these ones we've used these in all sorts of conditions before, and they withstand whatever will be thrown at them within reason. I think that this country can offer.
Stephanie, I've got just a quick question for you. Mr. Facey raised a question regarding the costing of this licence and raised concern it was so reasonable. Can you just clarify from all members currently what is the price of these temporary?
The temporary licence, this particular one is £440 for 6 months, so £80 a year.
Sorry, it's 400 and what? Sorry?
440 for 6 months. So on renewal, it would work out £880 per year.
Can I ask how that compares with the market stalls in the pavilions?
A market stall and pavilion smaller than this would pay £580 for 4 weeks.
And these are, I know with some of our licences are nationally set, or is it our own figures?
These are locally set by Cabinet, Chairman.
Okay, maybe to be reviewed in the future. Is there any other points of clarification before we go forward? I have one. You both indicated. Mr. Facey's also indicated. I just want to say, we're talking fruit and veg. How much veg are you going to be doing? Because if it is all soft fruit, then there's more concern because soft fruit is a slip, trips, falls going on. But you're not really going to tread on a spud, but you're not going to split on one, are you?
No, of course. I mean, we're not saying we're not going to carry a full range of fruit and veg. At any one time, there won't be a full range. Obviously, I wouldn't want to commit to myself by saying we're only going to sell strawberries, cherries, and certain things. There's only going to be a limited amount of different sort of stock at the time. So there will be, obviously, I'd say roughly an even amount of each fruit and veg. Again, what stock we will buy then will be determined, obviously, what price it is or what season it is and what's available. Obviously, strawberries aren't available all the way through the year, are they? So we'd have to compensate not having strawberries or cherries by having something else. So.
Councillors Jackson?
A very simple one. Will this stall have a name? What will it be trading under?
Well, we've recently changed the name of our stall outside the train station to the Flower Stall, and the reason for this is everyone comes out of the train station and says, I'm at the Flower Stall. So we'll probably, we haven't definitely discussed a finalised name, but it would probably be the Fruit and Veg Stall, because it would make more sense. I'm at the Fruit and Veg Stall. So with Uxbridge at the end of the title, I mean, I don't really feel like I need to keep it simple and you know.
Incredibly imaginative, yes. Councillor Allen, did you have any more? No more? Okay. Mr. Facey, you indicated...
Just some small points. I was amused by you saying that you gradually fill up the stall when you're putting your water in there. Of course, they will also have to have a washing unit for hand washing, as required by the market stall's delivery regulations. So that will take up more space. So, your water butt actually is twice what you suggested. And the other point which has arisen is that they're going to do quite a lot of, you intend to do quite a lot of pre-packed stuff to sell to office workers. Now, one can imagine, especially in days like today, these people are going to be sitting down around, eating these snack lunches, and where's the containers going? There's going to be a considerable amount of waste generated by this type of selling. Yeah. Is there sufficient provision in the high street? I mean, we are in a situation of terrorism where we will be thinking shortly again of removing these waste bins, I think, before we're very much older. It's happened before during dangerous times, and I can see that happening again before very much longer. So where's all this waste going to go to? It's a consideration that I think the committee should think of also.
So just to clarify, it wasn't really a question, it was something...
It was an observation,
All right,
really.
well, we're coming to that bit as well,
Yeah,
so you've preempted that, so that's good. Okay, so now it is your turn to do a summing up. We go in reverse order. We don't involve, as the policy or proposal, the procedure says, we scrap that, haven't we, that we go to you. So we hear from the objector, which is you, sir, and then we hear from the applicant. So away you go. You just...
Yes, well, I'm afraid, as Chairman, Councillors, I've heard nothing really that allays my fears in this today. I think that the objections that I've put down still stand fair. There is still, there must be activity on the store. There must be filling up. I just do not believe that it will happen, that there is all contained within it. And as you rightly say, if they sell out early, what's going to happen then? A van is either going to come on much early or it's going to be an abandoned structure until such times as the van arrives. You can't imagine that a stallholder is going to sit around there waiting for several hours to bring the van on if they've sold out. The thing will be sheeted up and left. We've had quite a bit of vandalism and bad activity in Uxbridge, I think, in the evenings particularly. It's starting even at 7 o'clock. I see quite lots of people gathering there that are doing no good, let's put it that way. Yeah. And the staining and the like still pertain, and I do not think that the question of cleaning has been sufficiently answered.
We have just 2 points we want to clarify first of all. Can you just pick up the one that we just had a quick discussion on?
Thank you, Chairman. Can I be quite clear? If there's members have some concern about the mechanics of replenishing the store, so if there is a condition, if members are minded to put a condition on the licence that there will be no replenishment during trading hours, would you be happy with such a condition? So, for example, the Chairman said if you sold out at 2 o'clock, are you going to then agree not to replenish the store that day, or is it going to be replenished on foot or by... We need to be very clear about this.
Okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And yeah, I agree with your comments that I would be shooting myself in the foot if I said, yeah, so to put that in place, yeah, that could cause an issue. And obviously, as Mike said, there could be more stock on them. And replenishing, I'm quite open to this. If I'm happy to, if you would allow us to replenish, then that would be fantastic, because I've got storerooms which aren't within the shopping centre, which are on council property. Well, actually, I've got storerooms on London Underground property, where we've got cold rooms where we keep everything. So normally, as it stands on our current business, we do replenish with Dutch trolleys to our store, or by hand, because obviously we're adjacent. We bring flowers down, and obviously that's how we've always done it. If the council would feel more comfortable with me, or would be happy with me to replenish the store via a Dutch trolley or via hand, then we're happy to do it. I know your main concern is bringing a van onto the high street while there are members of the public there. I can see that's obviously a problem.
Let's be very clear, we won't be allowing that.
Obviously,
okay.
for obvious.
I mean, that's not a debate here.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah,
I mean, I would like to.
Just too risky, yeah.
I would like the opportunity to replenish. It would be much easier for me to replenish with a Dutch trolley or by hand. It would be a lot easier than having it all within the unit. I'm basically at your whim to make life easier for us and for yourselves. I'd be happy to have a condition that we could run stock from one of our already existing storerooms within London Underground property down to this area, as I've seen other stores doing in the past before. McDonald's run their stuff down from one shop to the next. I've seen some of the clothes outlets running stock from places wherever they come from on trolleys into their stores. So I know it's something that's already being done. So, I mean, if I could be granted the permission to use a trolley to take stock from one of my already existing storerooms to the stall, then that would be fantastic.
Can I just may follow that up, please, Chairman? Thank you. Can I just then ask, if members think actually replenishment is inappropriate, and you've got the situation the Chairman's mentioned where you went out of stock at 2 o'clock, will you confirm to the committee that your store will not then be dismantled till the ordinary close of business hours, in the situation that's been mentioned there? Because that would then cause inconvenience, no doubt, to other people in the area.
I agree, of course it would. Obviously, unfortunately, with my partner not being here, he would have probably answered more of those questions on the replenishment of the stock. My plan was to have the stock within the unit, but again, if you'd be happy to allow us to replenish in through via a Dutch trolley, that would work out a lot more viable for us. Yes, it would work out a lot better. Should we run out of stock, if you were to put this condition in place, and we did run out of stock, obviously that will prove to be a problem, because obviously nobody wants to stand there for hours on end with no stock left, should that happen to be the case. So it's probably something that I've overlooked, which my business partner definitely wouldn't have done, obviously. If you could have it, if we could ask for it, if that could be something that we could have in place to be able to replenish stock, then that would be better for us, and then we could trade to the end of the day, and we could pack it away as normal at the end of the day.
I think, Mr. Craddock, you can hear that from members and officers that there's some concern about the access to and from where the stall is actually situated.
Yeah.
I know we've sort of worked on the hours of trade to say the hours of trade will reflect the stores adjacent, so 9 to 7. Would you be happy if we conditioned a time of setup which was outside of those hours? I mean, I'm very concerned myself. At 8 a.m. there's quite a few footfall going down there. I would like you to be off the actual high street before 8 a.m. with no vehicle on there before 8 a.m.
This is the reason why we did ask for 6 a.m. originally.
So, for example, if we conditioned 8 a.m. as no vehicles on there, and then no vehicle on there again till past 7, you would be happy with that? If we were minded to approve the application, obviously.
Of course, yeah. One of the reasons why we'd asked for 6 a.m. was for that reason. The set-up time was because we wanted to be on and off before affecting any of the public, as I was mentioned in the beginning of the meeting. The reason we said till 7 o'clock was more to allow us the time to pack it down and to be out of your way by 7 o'clock. To be honest,
just to clarify then, what time would you be wanting to get a vehicle back onto the pedestrian high street?
Ideally, we would like a vehicle, if we could get a vehicle on the high street at that time, I think 6 o'clock. What's the current time that is on the high street for?
I believe the Peters move their roundabout on around that time. It's around 6 o'clock. When the French market's in town as well, that can be between about 5 and 6, I think. It's a bit earlier.
So
it's just that we have the opportunity today to make sure that we maintain the safety of the residents. So we could condition. So, for example, if we said no vehicles between the hours of 8 and 6, that would be something that you could work around.
Yeah.
I keep going back to Mr. Facey's comments about the cleaning and the general waste. Can I hear from officers about how we can enforce going forward if we were minded to approve and the state of the area deteriorated to such? What sort of enforcement action is possible?
Well, keeping the area clean and tidy is one of the standard licence conditions that will be put on any licence granted. And we do have enforcement powers if any of those conditions are breached. So we have a range of powers, from warnings to serving fixed penalty notices, prosecution in the worst, sort of most extreme cases, and any enforcement carried out will be in line with our enforcement policy. So we do have a range of options which escalate depending on the repetitiveness or the seriousness of the breach.
Is there a review of this sort of scenario?
We can review temporary licences.
Explain it to Mr. Facey, because obviously members of the public can then start the review process as well, can't they? They can certainly make a complaint and highlight areas of concern for us, but the reviews don't quite work in the same way as they may do under premises licensing rules. But you could certainly, if you've got concerns, you could certainly highlight those to us, and we could follow that up with enforcement action. And it may be that the appropriate action in certain circumstances is to review a licence, with potentially revoking that licence if things are that serious. So just to be very clear, no rubbish will be on display at any time on this site. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah, that's correct.
Can I come back to this trade-in time we're saying that you cannot trade until 9 o'clock when all the shops open. But knowing market stalls, knowing Borough Boys, trade's passing, or can I have a punnet of strawberries, please? This is 6:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock. How are you going to say to those people, no, sorry, can't trade till 9 o'clock?
Councillor, just to clarify, the policy that we're looking at, street trading policy 5.5, I believe it is, mentions the time of the local shop in the local vicinity. I'm conscious that WH Smith's opens at 8 a.m. Right, so from 8 a.m. it would be viable for this trading stall to sell fruit and veg. Okay. So there will. Well, again, that goes back to enforcement, reports from local residents, ward councillors, and then the ASBIT team, I suppose, will be involved, as per normal. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Craddock, now we will get back to you. So we've done our discussion, we've heard from Mr. Facey, so it's really your closing remarks, and then we can go forward.
Okay, yeah, I've obviously heard everything that's been said today and agree there are aspects maybe I've slightly overlooked. Obviously, with the opening times, obviously it's a bit of a grey area, but we've managed to, I think, come to a conclusion on that one, should we get granted the licence. The excessive amount of waste of packaging, I'm not really too sure of what to make of that, really, because obviously if a new food outlet opens, is there a special way that people have to deal with their empty packets? If McDonald's open, would they have to put their hamburger boxes in a specific bin? Or
yeah, we condition them, and we actually condition the amount of litter patrols they actually use, and they offer it up as well because they're a great company like that.
Of course.
Other hamburgers are available if you're watching on YouTube.
Of course, yeah. Endorsing there, sorry. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, obviously, we have been trading for 25 years. I understand it's a completely separate business, but they do have their similarities as far as street trading is concerned. You know, if I don't sweep up my current business, I get my licence revoked, and that's fair, which is why I make sure that it's me that does the sweeping at the end of the evening, not one of my juniors. So, because I make sure I get it done properly. So I completely understand where you're going with the waste as far as that's concerned. It's no different from what we've currently been doing for the last 25 years. This isn't anything new to us. This is all pretty standard procedure. And not only is it standard procedure what you'd expect from us, it's what I'd expect from the staff that I've got working with me, because who would want an unsightly looking stall with rubbish on it and dirt all over the floor? I know I wouldn't buy fruit or veg from a stall that has dirt and rubbish all over the floor. So I would expect my staff to understand that. And obviously I know you have to wash down. I'm unsure of how it's business is conducted inside the shopping centre with Mr. Facey's market, because obviously we said about the tiles being bad. I can't imagine you could wash down too much in there. So I'm sure they're very careful with their waste, of how they drop it and where it goes, because you can't throw a mop and a bucket around inside a shopping centre. So I'm sure the other market stalls are very careful and very cautious about what they do, as will be my staff that I have on my stall will be just as cautious. Obviously, my business partner, who will be managing the stall with me, he's already a current trader within the shopping centre, so he knows how all of these things work. He's not a new to the fruit and veg game. He's got years of experience under his belt in this field, so it's not going to be, his business will not be conducted any differently from what it is in his current location, which obviously hasn't got any issues or problems, because otherwise he wouldn't be trading there now. So I don't see why we'd be doing anything any differently from what we are both already doing, and that's what we're aimed for. And one other thing, I know obviously it might not necessarily be something for this meeting, but I know you mentioned, and Mike mentioned, the pricing of the licensing. One thing that's slightly different with the pricing of our stall and the pricing that's different from Mike's market stalls is they all come with storage and a car parking facility. My pitch doesn't come with a parking facility or storage, so I have to pay an excessive amount of money for my storage. I've got 4 storerooms and I've got an office which I pay a hell of a lot of money for, so that is where my costs come into it. So I'm very fortunate that the council are reasonable with their pricing of their stalls, considering I don't get any storage, I don't get a car parking space, and there are no extras like there are for the other market stalls, which I don't have a problem with, but I have to pay out to make up for that. So I just thought I'd leave you with that.
Yeah, no, it's good. I like it when people sing the praises of the council. It's we're very fortunate. Mr. Facey, what I wanted to clarify from yourself is you raised an issue, an important issue regarding hand washing facilities. Currently, your stalls in the market have hand washing facilities? Because I know you said they all had to have them themselves. Mhm. Yeah, we're going to get clarification from my team here because we need to just hunt that out. Stephanie, can we make sure that we're going to start our deliberations, but before we start, we need to hear from trend standards, I guess, or environmental health, the ones who go out, whether the hand washing facilities need to be provided. I'm guessing you won't be providing them, or is this something you will have?
This is something that I'll have to discuss with my obviously business partner. That's more of his field because he is going to be handling the fruit and the veg.
If it's fully required, we won't condition it because obviously it's fully required and you have to
deliver it.
Of course, yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. Could I just clarify the regulations that you mentioned so I can... I'll check that with an EHO when I go.
You're going to have to get back to us very promptly though, because obviously we need to make a decision. Because we can't make a decision if that is brought into a case, then we have to get back to you. Right, at this point we will then ask you to step outside. We will take our deliberations once we've heard from Stephanie. Gentlemen, I know you're in the next item. We're going to just make our decision. We'll call and then we'll hear yours as quickly as we can. Thank you.